There you go.
Thanks. So, I don't really have titles. Dad always asks me, like, what's your title? And I don't know. So this isn't necessarily a title. It's just what I'm going to be talking about. But I love the picture behind it because you wouldn't think that a lion would go with quiet, right? But what I love about the picture is that in the quietness and the rest of the Father, you become powerful. And a lion can sit in the middle of a valley because he is known to be the king of the prairie, right? And so when you partner with God in the quietness and in the rest, you become a lion wherever you are. And you can sit wherever he puts you without fear. And then I love the little girl just curled up with her little legs crossed, because it shows us that when we're quiet and restful with God, we become like a child. Yet at the same time, we're as powerful as a lion. So I just love that picture. It doesn't, until you really think about it, it doesn't really go with what I'm going to talk about until you think deep. But anyway, so I always start with a prayer. So let's just open up with that. I'm going to ask you to put your hand on your head and your other hand on your heart. Then I'm going to ask you to lift your head up, expand your chest, and breathe Jesus in. God, our prayer this morning is just a simple yes. Yes to whatever it is that you have in store for each one of our hearts and our minds. You have such a beautiful capability of taking a simple message and putting an impression on each mind and heart that's exactly what that individual needs. And so we just say yes to whatever it is that you're up to today. And we just say yes to opening up our mind and our heart to you. Amen. Do y'all feel the peace in here? Like it's actually tangible. I feel like I can just... Anyway, so I'm not a New Year's resolution kind of girl. You can ask John, like, I'm not a Valentine's Day kind of girl. Like, I'm like, if you have to be romantic on the day that the world has placed on romance, then you're probably lacking in the romance department, right? Like, I just think, like, I don't want flowers on Valentine's Day. I want flowers on Friday on May 26th because. Or I don't want a New Year's resolution just because it's the new year. I want a resolution because God's downloaded it into me, right? Like, we shouldn't wait all year to walk into something because somebody says that day is that. But for some reason this year, God gave me a New Year's resolution. And I kind of laughed at it at first and didn't put much thought into it because I'm not a New Year's resolution kind of girl. But he just kept telling me that I need to learn to rest. And we've talked about this a lot. There's been a lot of people lately to bring it up. So I was kind of hesitant to talk about it. But everybody's rest is different, right? I mean, each experience with the Father is your own. And so there's different viewpoints to rest, and I love that. I love that we have different teachers here because we each get to come and share and express what God has on our heart right then, and it can touch us in such different ways. So I know that John just spoke about this, but I'm going to speak about it again. Anyways, my New Year's resolution was learn to rest. And rest in the Hebrew means to be quiet. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the Hebrew word. But it also in the Greek means refreshment. And I love God because what he's saying is if you get quiet and rest, I will give you rest, refreshment. Love the play on words. So I was thinking about why why don't I rest? Why don't you rest? If there's anybody in here, I'm speaking to the people that have a struggle with resting. There's certain things that can kind of show you're not resting. And what are they at the core of them? You know, you can have all of these side effects, but what's going on in the core that you're not resting? And so a couple of things that he brought to me were, are you performance driven? Is there something inside of you that feels like you have to always be doing something to be giving God pleasure? Are you performance driven? Are you striving to please? The more I do, the happier he is. Right? Society, like the world these days, there's so many things right now that the world is the exact opposite of the word. And that's why it's so important for us to know who we are and then walk in it, because the world needs the word. And our life should be a living example of the word of God. We shouldn't have to spout off a verse for someone who meets us to go, they're the word of God. They are the living word of God. Lack of self-value could be another one. Kind of goes back to the pleasing, like you feel like you have to do stuff to have value in your life, you know? If everything looks neat, no one will see the mess that I'm in. It's a big one. This was a big one for me. My mind races sometimes. So I kind of self-medicate with keeping busy. Because if I stay busy, then I don't have to think about what's going on in my mind, because sometimes I feel like a squirrel. Right? And I'm starting to realize that there's a difference in your mind racing towards things that aren't good and allowing yourself to settle so your mind can move with God. But see, if you're so busy doing stuff, you can miss out on what God has to say.
Come on.
You can miss out on the moments that He's trying to bring to you to help you awaken into who He says you are. And so there's just this vitality. To me, you cannot fully live if you're not resting.
That's so true. Been there, done that.
I don't want to pass by that, because it's life-changing. You gotta slow down. And we live in such a world of instant gratification from photos and social media and from this to this to this, and the faster we can get it done. And we've got to learn to slow down. I tell John all the time, our kids don't know anything. I mean, even as simple as like watching a Saturday cartoon. You know, like when we were growing up, your favorite cartoon came on Saturday morning at a certain time and you weren't going to see it again until the next week. These kids nowadays can think anything up in their mind, press a button, it's there.
Come on.
And so we're trained from an early age that the minute we want something, we should get it. And sometimes God's just calling you to stop and to wait. It's in the quiet. It's in the stillness that we find Him.
Thank you.
And I just don't do well at being quiet. Sometimes I think God's like, Michelle, shut up. I mean, in the nicest way, right? You know, I mean, only in the way that God can tell you that if you're in relationship with Him and your feelings don't get hurt. You know, like, shut up. listen to what I have to say. He's just been downloading to me the importance of simplicity. We try to complicate everything. And he's a simple God. I mean, he's so profound, but he brings it to you in the simplest ways. I just really want to encourage you today to just get quiet and to get still and to just meditate on him and meditate on his word. In Luke 10, and this story is simple, but it does so much to me personally, for me, because it reminds me of me. Martha does, not Mary, so that's a problem. But in Luke 10, verse 38, God comes in, he's going out all over the place and bringing the word of God. And he comes into a town, and it says, now it happened as they went, that he entered a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she approached him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Poor me. Therefore, tell her to help me. And Jesus answered and said to her, this is in red, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things, but one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen that good part, which I will not take away from her. Reading this story, the first thing I thought about was how many of us have welcomed Jesus in, but we are so busy doing stuff to prepare that we miss him. It doesn't say that Martha was just like not paying attention. Martha's intention was good. Her heart was right. Her heart was to serve, to prepare, to get everything ready to look beautiful for Jesus. He's in her home. She welcomed him.
Yeah.
But she missed the one thing that she needed to do, which was just to sit at his feet. And then she was upset with Mary for not helping her, for not serving, for not preparing. And she went to God and she said, tell her what to do. And he didn't say her name once. He said her name twice. And he said, Mary's got it right. She's got it right. She's sitting at my feet. And when I think of this story, I just envision him sitting, I envision him sitting at a fireplace. Not a long time ago, but I just envision him sitting somewhere warm. Down, crouched down. And I just envision Mary sitting like a child and just looking up at him and just being there. Don't pass over the simple stories in the Bible.
Come on.
Don't pass over the stories that you heard as a child or in passing that you think, that's not real deep, so, I'm just going to try to find something deeper. Because there's such wealth in the simplicity of the message.
That's good.
And I relate to Martha in such a way, I've been such a spaz lately, past couple of years, even about my house. Toys can't be out, and pillows have to be perfect, and beds have to be made, and kitchen has to be clean, and dishes can't be in the sink, and blinds have to be perfect, and curtains have to be here, and it has to smell good, and it has to be clean, and nothing can be on the floor, because what if somebody comes? What if somebody comes? Now, this isn't an excuse for you to live in filth. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. There is a spirit of excellence in which you should have your household and your life and your responsibilities. But, man, don't you think that sometimes we are so worried about what it looks like that we miss who we welcome in?
Come on. That's a good word right there.
Like, I will invite my family over for like a Sunday lunch or a Saturday evening, and I will work myself ragged to make my house in the most pristine condition that it can be in for them to enter. Like the only thing that honors their presence is how clean my floor is.
You come by that pretty honestly.
I know I did. But maybe that person should work on it too. So at the beginning of the year, God started saying, learn to rest.
That's so good.
Learn to rest. John has said this to me for years. Honey, why can't you just sit on the couch with me?
Amen, sister.
Why can't you just sit here and hold my hand? Why can't you watch a TV show with me, or just sit down and listen to some worship music? I can worship while I'm moving. I can worship while I'm scrubbing a dish. I don't have to be sitting down. You're kind of lazy. You always want to sit. Just get up and do something. No, he knows how to rest. He knows that his value doesn't come from what he accomplishes in responsibilities. He knows that if he sits, it doesn't change who he is. Big deal. So what did I start doing at the beginning of the year? I had to force it. I'm not going to lie. I can't stand when people stand up. I'm not saying that this never happens. Like you get a word from the God and just like amazingly transform to where it's just exactly like you said. Sometimes you got to just try. You know? Like Stacy coming here with a bad attitude. You know? Who cares? That's real.
Come on. Come on.
We can't all sit here and pretend that every Sunday we walk in here, we're like, oh, hi, Christian, how are you today? It's so good to see you. When you're like, God, I don't want to say anything to anybody. My kids have spit at each other. They spilled the milk all over the floor. I'm sweaty. You know, let's be real.
You went with sweaty.
Come on. So what did I do? The first Saturday of the year, I was like, all right, God, I'm going to lay in bed till like 9 or 10. Which, let me tell you something. That is lazy to me. Like, it is Saturday, you got things to get done, get up. Now, you might be a personality that gets up at 5 a.m. because you're not dealing with a struggle of rest. Your rest may look different than mine, so don't get me wrong. I'm not downing the people who wake up at sunrise. God bless them for that. But that's just, you know, like as long as your heart is right and God's calling you to do, then do. But make sure your heart is in the right position.
That's
right?
good right there.
Because everybody's heart is in a different position, so it's going to look differently. Mine was get up and start tinkering around because that's where your value comes from.
Yeah, self-help.
So I forced myself to lay in bed till 10. Now I'm going to tell you, I did it, but at like 10:01, I looked at John and was like, I got to get up. I've wasted half the day. So it wasn't like this perfect, beautiful experience, you know, but I was teaching myself something. I was saying, okay, God, I've heard your word, and I'm going to do my best to do what you're telling me to do. And it's a struggle. Yeah. And I might have a crappy attitude about it at 11 because I feel like half the morning's gone or all of it's gone. But I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to trust that the next Saturday it's a little bit easier. And it's a little bit easier. And it's a little bit easier. And so I've just been forcing myself to slow down.
Thank you.
And to not worry about what it looks like to other people. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I really don't. I don't care. Because it's not about you. It's about me and Jesus. And I know what he's called me to do. What is he calling you to do?
Come on.
Where is your rest time? You know, like, this is a great, easy example. Say you have kids. Most of us do, or have ads if they don't work. You always have kids, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't just spend time with Coleman and Caleb when I'm picking them up from karate and driving them home. Like, in passing. So some people are like, yeah, well, I spend 30 minutes with Christ every single day when I'm driving to work. Yeah, but you're driving. And you got to pay attention so you don't hit somebody or hold your cell phone so you get a $50 speeding ticket. But, you need to be intentional.
Come on.
I intentionally sit down with my boys. I get on the floor. I build something with those blocks that Caleb loves. I go outside and play Foursquare and listen to them fight over who is trash and who is queen and king. But I'm intentional with the time that I spend with them. So if we're intentional with the time we spend with our children, shouldn't we be intentional with the time we spend with the one who creates us? Because in being intentional with the time that we spend with the one who creates us, the intention that we spend with our children or our friends or our family, it'll be even better.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
It'll be even better. So you can't just spend time with God in the passing. If your life is too busy to spend 30 minutes or an hour with 1 hour of your day is 4%, you're too busy. You're too busy. If you literally say, well, I'm too busy to read the Word right now, or I'm too busy to spend an hour in prayer, I'm too busy to just, sorry. If I'm too busy to just sit, I'm falling over the pallets of cash. If I'm too busy to just sit and to be, you need to look at your schedule. You need to start putting what's important at. Look, I'm starting to learn that sometimes there are seasons of no. You can't say yes to everything all of the time. Because what ends up happening is you get yourself busy with stuff that isn't getting you to where you're supposed to be. So there has to come a time where you politely say no. I'm sorry. I just can't do that right now. And you have to put yourself in a place where God called you to be. 2018 for me was the hardest year that I've ever been through in my entire life. I would have thought in my brokenness that when I was 9 and molested, that probably would have been the hardest year of my life, right? 2018. But what God did in 2018 was He taught me that as tears stream down my face, brokenness is washed away, and the deepness of joy and gratitude and thankfulness begins to grow. And I am telling you, when you meet the Father face to face, because you have laid down and just gotten real and raw with Him, you're going to experience a beauty in your life that is going to set you from quicksand to the most solid foundation that only He can give. And I started to realize that every time that I got healing in 2018, I was laying in bed with my husband. In the darkness, in the quietness, in a restful place.
Thank you.
And healing just started to happen because I said, God, here I am, tear me open. Tear it open, because I know when you tear it open, you're going to replace it with
Come
good.
on.
Do you realize that in the crushing, new wine comes?
Yeah.
In the crushing, new wine comes. In the crushing of your old springs forth anew.
Yeah.
But it takes quiet. See, I made a huge mistake. I got healing, and then I started getting busy. Forgetting that the reason I got healing was because I got quiet and still and restful. And it's so funny. It's like, how do you forget the very thing that gave you freedom. Because I think we get so excited that we get freedom, and then we're like, okay, what's next, God? What's next? Come on, what am I going to do? Where am I going to be? What's my calling? 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 And you get so concentrated on what your calling is or what you're supposed to do that you forget to pay attention to the one that called you. I promise you, if you have a question, if you will just sit at the feet of Jesus, he'll answer it. It may not be in the time that you think, but it's in his time. And this is where we've got to learn to trust his timing. We can't busy ourselves because something that we think should happen hasn't happened, or something that we think we're called to, we don't have all the answers. I mean, what is trusting God going, okay, God, well, I may not have this answer right now, but I am going to sit with you. And wherever you lead me, I'm going to follow. Do you know that in following him, your calling will come? See, I think what we struggle with, or I know what I struggle with, is we were raised in so many of us were raised in such a religious, right? And we're just now learning kingdom culture. But we're at an age where we're not like 18 or 17 or 12 or 10 or 5 like Caleb. And so we can, or I need to quit saying we because y'all might not agree with me, but I have gotten so like spun up of, oh my God, I wasted all these years, and oh my God, and like I'm 37 and I haven't reached my calling, and I get like almost like, and it's like, shut up, Michelle. Do you know that every journey that you're in, every step that you take with God, every quiet moment, every healing, every freedom, God is so multi-dimensional. Don't box him in.
That's good.
He has this perfect way of taking every journey that you're in, every path, every step, every moment, and turning it into a part of your story. I mean, the old saying, I wouldn't change anything about my past because it's gotten me right where I am today. I mean, there's some truth to that. He takes just the nasty and makes it new.
Yeah.
He can take a crappy story and he can turn it into your actual platform. But don't busy yourself just to say that you're doing something. We need to be so connected with the Father that what we do is because he said to do it, because he called us to it, because we can hear him so well. Like John said, God, give me the gift to know that it's not my voice, but it's yours. Because when you can do that, you can just walk where he's calling you to at that moment, and then just trust that that moment is part of your calling. Don't get so spun up on what's the end result. You're going to miss the journey to get you there. Isn't it crazy how the darkest moments in your life are the moments that you feel the closest to him? I mean, can anybody agree with me? Like when you are in a dark place, I mean, and dark places can look different to everybody, right? I mean, your dark place may just be you've always been really, really wealthy, and now all of a sudden you're not as wealthy. You're not poor, but you just can't go on 6 vacations a year. That might be your darkest. Or you may sit on death's doorway, whatever. Y'all know me. You know I'm messing up. But, like, your darkness is your darkness. It's your darkness. And God meets you there every time. We've got to start living a life that we stay as close to him in the light as we are to him when we are clinging onto him in the darkness. Man, if he's willing to lay in my bed with me as I open my mouth and talk about things that I have pushed down deep for years with my husband, and he can bring light to that situation, what light can he bring when you're standing in the light?
That's rich.
I mean, come on, guys. like we're so focused on the darkness that we miss that we're, right now we're standing in the light. Every day there's a triumph in your life. If you're connected to the Father, He is going to show you triumphs in ways you've never seen. He's going to give you gratefulness for the most minute things. He's going to turn your heart into gratitude. But it takes this. How do you hear His voice if you're always talking? How do you feel the move of the Spirit and the Father if you're always running around? Do you know that you can worship by being quiet? Like, I'm a loud person just naturally, so like when I worship, I like scream and I dance loud. And there is a time for that, but there is a time for, shut up, Michelle. Shh. It has to say shut up because I'm hard-headed. Come by that honestly too. And I'm hard-headed, so sometimes He's like, I love you, but shut up. Quiet. Shh. Psalm 116, 5-9. Gracious is the Lord in righteousness. Yes, our God is merciful. The Lord preserves the simple. I was brought low, and He saved me. Return to your rest, O my soul, for the Lord has dealt bountifully with you. For you have delivered my soul from death, and my eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. And I will walk before the Lord in the land of the living. I'm going to read that again because, man, it's good. Gracious is the Lord and righteous. Yes, our God is merciful. The Lord preserves the simple. Don't skip over the simple. I was brought low, and He saved me. Please return to your rest, O my soul, for the Lord has dealt bountifully with you. For you have delivered my soul from death, and my eyes from tears, my feet from falling. And I will walk before the Lord in the land of the living. Gosh, that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but every time He deals with me, and He deals, it's bountifully. He doesn't do anything halfway. Everything that He does is with intention. How much intention are we giving Him? How much time are we setting to the side to get quiet, to learn how to hear His voice, to learn what His voice sounds like? It may be audible, it may be a vision, it may be a gut feeling, it may be a dream, it may sound like you. I mean, John and I listened to a word this week that was so good. It was like, God is, when you get in relationship with Him, He becomes so familiar to you that sometimes He sounds like you, right? I mean, we want to mind like Christ. And it'll get like that. It'll get to where you're so close with Him, your thoughts are His thoughts are your thoughts. And I just know that I want to live my life like I live my life when I'm struggling. I want to be that close to Him in my victory as I am in my, oh my God, like literally if you're not here, I don't know what I'm going to do. That should be every day of my life. Every day of my life, I should be clinging to Him. And I think it's just human nature that when the going gets good, we kind of, and then we wonder why we're like, oh, I don't even know what to do when the good. It's because we forgot to keep clinging to Him as we were walking on our journey and on our path.
Thank you.
tells us that busy is popularity. My calendar's full. Let me check my calendar. People do it all the time. You know, it's like people are so busy now they can't even remember in their head. They put it on their iPhone. Don't even get me started with that. Slow down. Busy is success. Well, I'm successful, so I'm busy. I have this meeting, that meeting, this meeting, this meeting, this thing to do, and this thing to do, and this thing to do, which is fine. You may be called to a lot, but are you getting quiet?
Yeah.
Is God on your calendar? Do you have to check to see if it is? Is something going on inside of you that every minute of every day isn't booked? You're feeling empty? Or are you just yearning to be with Jesus? This thing? Oh, I'm beginning to hate this thing. How many minutes of the day do you look at this? One example. How many days do you, how many minutes do you just scroll? Has God's relationship with you become a meme? Are you getting your sound bites from a post on Facebook?
Good.
Is your relationship with the Father what somebody on Facebook tells you it is? Is your knowledge of the Word a blurb that's put on an instant gratification media site? Is the only Father you know the Father of the stories you hear? Because He wants to be your friend, too. I've known you as a father, known you as a friend. Don't miss the friend part. Because if you truly love Him, if you value Him, you will make time for Him. You will rest.
Yeah.
And see, the beautiful thing about resting is He honors it. And like the word said at the beginning, the quiet becomes refreshment. Who else does that? Who takes a word and says, if you do this, it becomes this? Jesus. Jesus does that. I mean, He really just does love Him. It's awesome. Challenge yourself to put this down. Like, this is how this thing's become with me. I actually have been in a season where I'm like, okay, the day's over. The kids are in bed, the house is clean. Homework's done, the project's done, the book bags are packed, the lunches are out, the plan, the check. I can sit down and rest. And my gift to myself is this. It really is awful the more you think about it. I deserve to lay in bed and just mindlessly scroll. This is counterfeit. It's literally counterfeit. Put it down. You deserve 30 minutes of interaction with the Most High. It is the best gift that you can give yourself. And in doing that, you are bringing pleasure to the Father, and He craves it. He craves you. He literally wants to be with you. Have you ever been so in love with someone that you're like, I cannot get enough of them? Like, I just want to be around them all the time. That is how God feels about you.
That's good.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there waiting. Oh, well, hopefully she'll finish scrolling through that stupid private Pinterest page. She's looking at it. John said to me the other day, he just laughed. He wasn't being mean, but he goes, hey, babe, I was just wondering, all those quotes that you pin to that, like, awareness board, do you even look at them again, or do you just pin them? I'm like, I look at them. Why? Why do I need a quote from a pin?
Come on, somebody.
That's good.
Why do I need to go to Pinterest to get a quote that encourages me to be a better person when I have this?
Come on, somebody.
Like, seriously, I almost, like, if you think about it, you almost start feeling stupid, you know? It's like, man, they got me. I mean, seriously. I mean, we all do it. Come on, don't lie. Every single one of y'all do it. Who has Pinterest in here? Raise your hand. Facebook? Thank you. I have a girl in my office. She's 30 years old. She's so smart. I love her. Her name's Corey. And she isn't on Facebook. And it's crazy. It is crazy because we'll be like, oh, well, are you going to do that pampered chef thing? Well, where's the party? Where is the cook? Whose house are we going to? Oh, it's not a party anymore. It's virtual. It's a virtual party. It's like we've even replaced get-togethers with virtuality. Oh, we don't have to go to somebody's house. I know you don't have time for that. You're busy. We're not going to sit around in somebody's house and actually have community and talk and laugh and maybe cry and share a story and be near each other and give each other a hug. We're just going to get on Facebook because we're so busy and our calendars are so full that we're going to have a virtual party. And we're going to get everything that we need off of Facebook.
Thinning the herd out.
Seriously, God, I just want you. I don't want anything else.
Thank you.
I don't want anybody else because when I have you, you bring the ones to me that need me.
Come on.
You give me the ones that I need. I don't have to go looking for anything. You just supply it all. I don't have to question, what am I called for? What am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do? It's just, there you are. And so there I am. And so this is what I'm called to do. For this moment. For this season. And I appreciate it. Instead of thinking of it like, oh, this is just a place I have to be for right now to get me where I'm going. God, thank you for where you've brought me.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing me what you've shown me. Thank you for the healing that you've provided.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me one side of your face because I can't wait to see the other one.
Come on.
Thank you for showing me the one dimension because I know you have a trillion more. Thank you for the joy that I've never experienced before because I think that's amazing. So I can't even wait to see what the joy is next month, next year, next season. But while I'm in this joy, I'm going to revel in it. I'm going to bask in it. I'm going to bathe in it. I'm going to be thankful and grateful for it.
So awesome. Thank you.
God, slow down my mind. Slow down my mind. It is an organ, but it works like a muscle. I think that's pretty cool too. The brain is an organ, but it works like a muscle. You have to exercise it. Your relationship with the Father is just like that. It only works if you work it.
Come on.
And I don't mean work as in striving. I don't mean a to-do list. Well, I'm going to get up and I'm going to read the Bible, 6 chapters every morning, 6:30 on the dot. If I set my alarm clock for 6:15, surely I'll be awake by 6:30. I'll read 3 chapters, then I'll do a little bit of prayer, then I'll be in a good mood when my kids wake up. Crap. Just wake up. Just wake up. Maybe sit in the dark. Don't turn a light on. Don't drink a cup of coffee. Do drink a cup of coffee. I don't know. Whatever He calls you to do. Just be. God, here I am.
Thank you.
Do you know that God loves loves you so much that the biggest offering that you can give him is you.
Yeah.
In your present state. He doesn't need you to get it all together. He just needs you because he's a gentleman. He's never going to force you to do anything. He's not an abuser. He will chase after you, but he will not tackle you. He's chasing so that you turn around and say, here I am. Do whatever you need to do. I will be whatever you want me to be. I'm just here. I'm available. That's why I started this morning off with just, yes.
Thank you.
Like we complicate so many things. It can just be a simple breathe in, breathe out.
Thank you.
Yes. I encourage you to clear the calendar. I encourage you to realize what you're supposed to be saying yes to and what you're supposed to be saying no to. I encourage you to listen to what the Father is saying to you.
Yeah.
I encourage you to just slow down and spend some time with him. Get off of this
Thank you.
and start getting on this.
Thank you.
I always usually end with like a song because music speaks to me.
Yeah.
It encourages me, it lifts me up. There's something about just praise and opening your mouth and releasing something. But today I just feel like we, instead of doing a song, instead of ending it in a song, I just feel like we're supposed to end it in quietness. Have you ever been a part of anything that like you were in like a conference or a meeting or something and like everything's going crazy, and then like a moment of silence happens? It's weird because we're so used to the busy in our life that like it can get a little uncomfortable. It's like, okay, well, we'll be quiet for a minute or two, but then somebody needs to say something or some music needs to turn on or we need to do something, move, shift, scratch, get up, go to the bathroom, get a sip of water. But it's like when you push through and you just allow the moment to be what it is,
Yeah.
sometimes the silence of 10 minutes, 15 minutes of glory comes down because you're honoring God with your time. And when you still your mind, he impacts it. So I don't know, we can actually leave Facebook off. I mean, Facebook doesn't like kick us off because we're silent, right? Like it does with the song. So if anybody's watching live or anybody's going to be watching in the future, and for everyone that's here, I'm just going to ask you to challenge yourself, and let's just get quiet. And I'm not going to say how many minutes, because I don't know. I'm not going to put a time frame on God. We're going to let it flow and be fluid and let it be whatever it is. Okay. All right. Thank you, God, for this word. Thank you for the yes.
Good word.
Thank you for opening up the hearts and the minds. And thank you for the beauty in the stillness and in the quietness. Thank you for this day. Amen.
Thank you, Lord.
For some reason, the video quit. I don't know why. I didn't see it stop because I was on this side of it.